Do you think the education sector should be given an industry status?
Well, yes, definitely, but I do not know whether that's going to make much of a difference, because if you look at almost 10 years back, film industry was not a industry, and it was provided an industry status. What it did was it kind of opened up pathways for getting financing from banks and other legitimate means. In case of education sector, you can very well go and take loans from the bank. What it does not allow is the the low interest rates that should be given to them, and also it does not allow private equity funding coming into the system. So it's not just that by announcing industry status things are going to change. As I mentioned during my talk, was that it needs a complete paradigm shift in the mindset of both government and society, the way education is perceived. Education has to be perceived more in the sense that it needs to be outcome based. Now that outcome can result into employability, that can result into a very learned, educated, informed a person who contributes to the society, and somebody who also contributes to the economy by ways of actually working in the industry or actually creating enterprises, and giving jobs to the society. So in that context, one needs to look at things. Definitely, looking at education as an industry would bring that first change, but along with that there needs to be series of transformations that needs to take place before we actually can see very quick results.
All right. What is the extent of FICCI's involvement in accelerating education sector of India?
See, FICCI has been the first industry chamber that actually started looking at looking at policy per se, and started advocating the idea of reforms in the education sector. It was way back in 2000, early 2000, 2004, when we actually started getting our members who started complaining about the skill gaps and the lack of skills available in the amongst the new graduates. And that's when we started looking at education in a more serious manner. And then we also started getting private higher education providers who started coming to us because they were getting constraints because of the regulation that were in place, and most of them are still in place, which were more geared to the public sector, because essentially education is a public good, and the entire mandate and the responsibility was and is on the governments to provide that education to the society. However, because of the opening up of the economy in the early 90s, obviously industry started growing at a very fast pace. Before that, we were growing at the rate of 3 to 4% GDP, whereas we started growing at a higher pace, and in 2008 we reached the peak of 8 to 9%, and that actually brought in the demand for students, for graduate recruitment in the industry. And that's when we started looking at, and we started working. We created a committee of stakeholders who were not only just education providers, but also from the industry and other ancillary providers who support the education system. And we started deliberating as to what are the reforms that needs to be brought about. And one of the first reforms that we had spoken about way back in 2006, 2007 was that you need to actually converge or remove multiple regulatory authorities like UGC, AICTE. You should have a broad umbrella framework. The regulations should move from input based to output based. 10 years hence we are still talking the same things.
Right. Okay, as per British Council, in the year 2025, 75% of profession would be skilled based. So do you think the skill based education should be done more, or government should be doing more for it?
I think we are moving in the same direction, and government intent is very clear. The new government has immediately created the new ministry, which is the Ministry of Skills and Entrepreneurship Development. So the focus is not just on skills but also on entrepreneurship development, and I think that is a very, very welcome move which has happened. But having said that, there are enormous challenges that this ministry is facing, will be facing, because as you know that we need to bring about convergence. If you just look at the skill space, there are about 22 ministries who are actually working in the skill space, and they have been addressing their own needs in sector wise needs, and therefore because there was no umbrella framework, what has happened that over the years they have formed their own norms, their own regulations, their own standards. So there is no one standard, one national standard, which has created multiple issues in terms of mobility. So that is one challenge. The other challenge is that we have been so closed, and our regulation has been so rigid, that we do not have we don't allow mobility of students to move out of the education system and come back into the education system. And we know that we have a large poor population. So there can be major socio-economic demands on a child for which he may not be able to put that first 15 years or 16 years of education that is required, and may have to move out. So I think the NSQF, the National Skill Qualification Framework, will allow those pathways. So that is in place already. The government has already mandated that by 2016 all states, all forms of education will have to align with National Skill Qualification Framework, which is a huge challenge. And I think every stakeholder, including the education providers, the students, the assessment agencies, the accreditation agencies and the government, needs to work very, very concertedly to achieve that. And once we achieve that, I think we will be in the right path.
All right. Would you be able to quote a specific time as to when India would be there in the world map in terms of higher education? Because we just have the 4 IITs who ranks in the top 400 of times higher.
So we have given ourselves the time 2030, completely open up education sector, give complete freedom and autonomy, whether it is financial, administrative, autonomy to the university systems. Right. I think we have to do away with the affiliating system that is has not worked. It is a British system that we have been following, and the British themselves have moved away. So we need to move away from them, from that system, and therefore we need to recognize the good institutions and give them autonomy, make them degree granting. So that is something which we need to do. We have been talking about, funding has been a major challenge. So we need to definitely open up to see that private equity funding can be accessed and allow all type of institutions. We are not saying that make all private institutions for profit. You allow all means of trust, societies, not for profit and for profit institutions, and let players choose their own, the providers choose their own form of model, which business model they want to follow. At the end of it, the student is really not bothered whether it is a private or a public university, whether it is a for profit or not for profit. What it is bothered is he or she getting the right education that will help him earn a good livelihood and make him a better person. So if we meet those needs, I think we have achieved the vision.
Right. Do you think research-based education would be one of the prime solutions, India being in shortage of PhDs?
No, absolutely, certainly. I mean, we have to move towards it, because at the end of it, research is necessary for giving that cutting edge advantage to our own industries. Research is essential for having the right faculty in place, so that they can groom and mentor students in the. I mean, today if you look at our education system, we have a large number of institutions, both in the public and the private sector, who do not have I would say PhD, I will kind of bracket them as the right experience, you know, to actually teach. So, and today teaching is also not considered to be a attractive career proposition by the youth of our country. So, how do we make it more you know, attractive? And one way of making it attractive again is giving a career pathway to the top talent. If you look at you know, the developed world, you find that a professor is not actually a typical professor as he or she is perceived in our country. A professor is a person who not only teaches but also does, you know, cutting edge research, does consultancy, you know, actually contributes to the policy of the country, contributes to the industry, you know, in making them more competitive, and is a very holistic individual to which a student or a youth can aspire to be. But in today, if you look at in our country, the teaching profession has been so constrained, you know, and does not have those opportunities, you know, to grow, and therefore it does not become aspirational for the youth of the country. So we need to teach, and it is pretty much interlinked with the research. And with the focus of Prime Minister's Make in India, and Make in India will happen, one, of course, when we have the ease of doing business, but also we will have that cutting advantage only if we have the right environment and ecosystem to promote R&D and innovation in the country.
Right. Just one extended question here. You spoke on the autonomy. Do you think the autonomy of a college turning into a full-fledged university and thereafter affiliation with the AICTE and UGC will be able to be there in a...
No, we are talking about doing away with the you know, the kind of regulation that UGC and AICTE has been perpetrating. We are saying that you have a very broad framework of guidelines and norms, and let institutions perform, and you do your accreditation, you do the ranking, you bring in those rankings by which they will be, you know, judged through their outputs, you know, outputs in terms of what kind of teaching is happening, what kind of research is happening, what kind of students that are graduating out of those institutions, and they should be, and it should be done in a very transparent manner, and let the market actually decide which institution is better or good. Automatically, you know, the market will do away with the poor quality institutions. They will die their own death. You don't really need you know, regulatory stranglehold to, you know, keep them at bay.
Right, survival of